Hey, beautiful book lovers and curious minds. Welcome back to Gimme 5, author and interviews and book reviews. Today, we're going to dive into big ideas and bite-sized brilliance, 5 takeaways at a time. If you're already part of the fam, I'm so glad you're here again. And if you're new, hit that subscribe button because this is where purpose meets the page. Now, today's guest is someone I'm excited to introduce you to, Elaine Lombardi. She's a published author, a holistic health coach, a self-discovery powerhouse, and a creator of the method that's helping women over 50 transform their lives, reconnect with their purpose, and start that second act with passion, power, and profitability. Oh, I love that so much. So we're talking about her book, GIFTS, G.I.F.T.S, which is an acronym for, we'll find out about that later, 5 transformational keys inside of it. How she turned her personal journey into a community, a course, a podcast, and most importantly, a movement. If you ever felt stuck in transition, like your story was winding down, this episode will flip the script. So grab your tea. I got mine. Grab your notebook and get ready to meet a woman helping others find the gifts in their story. Let us get into it with Elaine Lombardi right here on Gimme 5. Let's go. Elaine, how are you doing today?
Hi, nice to meet you. Thank you so much.
Where in the world are you located?
I'm in Southern California.
Ooh, nice. So you have some good weather out there right now.
We do. I'm actually not at home right now. I'm actually up in the mountains.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was visiting some friends and I took a couple extra days here. Yeah,
Nice.
it's fun. I'm in Wrightwood and I went up, they have a mountain high here, and I went up and it was so fun because I was up there like 20 years ago, and I remember, oh my gosh, this is a hilarious story. I was kind of new to skiing.
Oh.
And I got a little bold and I got on one of the lifts and it went up and up and up and up and up, and I'm going, isn't this thing like going to stop at like different sections? This one did not.
Oh, no, you're kidding me.
No. And so I got up the very highest one. I think it was like level 9 or something. I knew I could not make it down. I was not experienced enough for that. I walked all the way down that mountain.
You walked all the way down the mountain?
Well, I sidestepped it all the way down that mountain. I took the skis off so I wouldn't slip. And I just sidestepped it. I used it, as leverage. Oh my gosh, what an experience. I get myself in these like predicaments sometimes.
But what did you learn from that adventure?
I'm nuts.
That's where the brave part comes in. Brave and bold, right? So that's
cool.
For
sure.
I love it. So, Elaine, take us back a bit.
Okay.
So tell us about the book, The Gifts. So what inspired you to write Gifts? Was there a moment that sparked the idea?
There was. So I love to travel. I love to travel internationally. I also love to travel around the United States. And I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago by now, and I was on a van life trip, okay? And I was in the forest. And when you're out in nature, especially around trees, redwood trees and stuff, it's just so relaxing. And I started to think about different life experiences that I had. And these words actually came to mind. And the first one was, actually they were just like popping in my head. And one was really strong. The first one was gratitude. And these actually came in this exact order. It was amazing. And so
you're channeling from a higher power.
Maybe. But so that's how the Gifts was born. So let me tell you about the acronym. The G is for gratitude. And I feel like, you have to start your day with gratitude. You have to be grateful. And sometimes it's difficult for people to be grateful when they're in pain. So I kind of go over that. We walk through that. How do you find the silver lining to get to gratitude? Mm. So that was the first big word that came to me. The second one was intention. And I started to ponder about this. Here I am sitting in my van in the forest, thinking about all this stuff. And I thought, what? But you have to do it from your own intuition.
Yes.
So I called it intuitive intention, was the second letter.
I
Yeah.
like it.
And then I'm looking up and I have photos of my family in my van. And I was looking up at that and I'm going, yeah, family and friends. That is such a part of it. Is the relationships that you have. If you don't have your relationships intact, you don't have a balanced life at all.
Yeah,
You
so
know, and
true.
you need that communication with your family and with your friends. You need those outlets as well. Your family can provide just so much, but you need to explore on your own. And that's where friends come in.
Yeah.
And then the T is an interesting one. The T is treasured wisdom.
Ooh, I like it. Yes.
Yeah. And here's my thought about that and the women that I work with. I see everybody has a gift. Many people don't know that. They don't realize that. And remember in the beginning where you were talking about the 3 Ps or even the 4 Ps, where you're
Yeah.
talking about passion and product. Here's where that comes in. You take a passion,
Mm,
you create a product, like a digital product.
mm.
You package it up, and then you prosper from it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
It's a whole step by step.
it is. And so from that, not right away, not while I was writing my book, but afterwards, I thought, well, how can I teach this? And I thought, well, I'll teach a digital products course, digital marketing. I'll get these women,
Sure.
to find their passion, their newfound passion, because a lot of them are empty nesters. They're looking for something, a newfound purpose.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
so I thought, well, this is like their next step. And so I put this whole other product, I call it the Clear Path. And those are all
Oh,
acronyms too, but that's for
hmm. Talk
another
show. Yeah.
discussion. Yeah, yeah. So that's another one. So I'm marrying them together. But let me tell you about one other thing first. And
Okay.
this is really where it all starts. It starts with self-love and care.
Really
That's
so
the
vital.
key. That's
Mhm.
the key. And I realized that because that journey that I went on, that trip was all about self-care.
And had you not been taking care of yourself or focusing more on others
I
before
was
you went on that
focusing,
trip?
yes, I was
Mm.
focusing so much on other things. At the time, I mean, I still have another YouTube channel. It's called Travel Grandma. And I kind of just like fell into this niche, and I didn't even realize I was going to fall into this niche. I wanted to, it was right after COVID. It was
Yeah.
2021.
Mm.
It was too soon to go international traveling again.
Yeah.
And what I like to do is something similar to what you like to do is different workaway programs.
Yeah.
Because when you're on Social Security and you're not bringing in a lot of extra money, it's a wonderful way to travel. I
It really is.
love it.
Hmm.
You know what I love the most about it is you get to stay in people's homes and you become part of their family. And
Yeah.
that's where the name Travel Grandma originally came from.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, because I figured, you know what? I love children and
Mm.
I could teach them so much. And a lot of people in, different countries, they love having Americans there. So I promoted myself as Travel Grandma.
That's
And I did,
perfect.
yeah, I did little things like that.
Hmm.
Um, but getting back to the story, I lost my train of thought. Oh,
So that sparked the moment of getting
okay.
to that book. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I wanted to travel. I was like so tired of staying home.
Right.
You know, it was April. I remember it was April 1st. Now, I don't know if this is
No
about
joke.
a fool's thing or it's no joke. I went out and I bought a minivan.
Wow.
And I thought, you know what? I'm going to take a trip all the way across country. My daughter lives in Maine. I'm just going to go for it. No plans, just go. You know, I did belong to another women's group and I had a lot of different connections all across. So I stayed in different people's driveways. A lot of times they would invite me in their guest room and stuff
Sure.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
I traveled all the way across the United States and back in that minivan.
Wow.
Yeah. And as I did this mostly for my family so they would see where I'm going.
Mm.
And I put it on my YouTube channel and I started my very first video. I got monetized.
Wow.
And it's the second highest video that I've ever created.
Wow.
And I just fell into this niche and all these women, mostly my age, were following me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But now, after that trip, something clicked in me. And it was like, I have more. I have something in me. This is such a good idea with his gifts. I'm going to write a book.
Yes.
And so I wrote the book and I knew that, and I needed money too.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah. So I started to drift away. I kind of let that channel go for almost about a year. And I started to meet other people. I started to meet entrepreneurs, you know, that really were out there and they were living such glorious lives and they were so interesting. And I thought, that's what I want. That's what I need.
So your journey actually shaped the 5 pillars of the gifts method, right?
Exactly.
So for breaking down gifts, which of those 5 keys do you think people struggle with the most? And why do you think that is?
Well, you know, I think the base is fear.
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 What are they fearing?
Fear of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
You know, fear of stepping out of their comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not easy. I have a husband at home. You know, I love him dearly. He loves to play golf. You know, we have a dog. He is very systematic, whereas I am very flighty.
You balance each other though, right?
We do. I need his stability. I really do. But then I've got to get away.
Yeah.
You know, I need to have that time to explore. That's just my personality. I need to explore. And he's not that way. And we have a unique situation where we had this conversation about respect. And I used another acronym, and I can't remember all the things, but I don't know why I do this. Maybe it's my thought process. Every letter represented something, and I can't recall exactly what they are. And we had this conversation about, we have such respect for each other and such trust. We've been married over 50 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, 50. Oh my gosh, let's see. Got married in 72. So I guess 53 years.
And never had a fight.
In July. We bicker, but we never have really hot fights. We do banter. Yeah, we do. Yeah. You're great. Oh my gosh, the best father and grandfather. You know, he's really a jewel. I love him so much.
You're so blessed. You are so blessed. And that's the F part of gifts is the family and the friends, right?
Family and friends, yeah.
Would you say that you got any flack when you started out on your van life about, you know, safety and all that stuff? I mean, what type of...
No, I did not. Not from my family. I have 4 children. My 2 older sons, they actually went to Europe. They took a trip to Europe right out of high school.
Wow. Good
now,
for them.
I don't know, as a mother, I don't know what the heck thinking. I must have been too busy with my two younger ones to even think about it. To send your kid off, or well, you can't. They're already 18. You can't have no say so. With a backpack, and I'm going to Europe, Mom.
Yeah.
Oh, I did that. Now, my they kind of inspired me to do this because when we were at my youngest son's wedding, this was just before COVID. I believe it was I can't remember. It's 2017 or something like that, 2018.
Yeah.
And I was telling them that, I think I'm going to get a van. I think I really want to travel. Da, 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 da. And they're going, Mom, why do you want to do that? You've already been cross country with Dad a couple of times. Why don't you go to Europe? And then this is the key. They said these exact words. If Dad doesn't want to go yourself.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, it was like, I had never thought of that. I'm very family oriented. I would have never thought to do that on my own. And so what I did was I didn't want to spend the money so much because I had this money for my van.
Yeah.
That's like my ticket to a little bit of freedom here. So what I did was I said, okay, now you're going to think I'm a little bit nuts on this one. Really wanted to earn some money for traveling. And I did not know about the workaway programs at this time.
Mm-hmm.
So I set up, I bought some piano books. Now I have a piano at home, but I don't play very well. But like I said, remember I said I really like kids and stuff. And I used to be a preschool teacher.
Oh.
So I said I could teach this. I'll get a little bit ahead of them. I'll just keep myself a little bit ahead of them. And I put an ad in the paper as a piano teacher. And I had my curriculum there because I taught from the books. And then I had supplementary stuff. I loved it. I did it for a whole year and went to Europe.
Wow.
On that. Oh, but here's the thing. I spent such little money that when I came home, I had even more than, I had expected to have. So I first bought an RV thinking, okay, if I get an RV and I make my husband really comfortable, he'll go with me. We'll go again because we had sold our RV. This was years ago when we had kids. Yeah. Oh, I said, this is perfect. And I got one and had a really big TV in it.
So he would like it. He could watch golf.
Perfect. He did not go one place with me.
You're kidding me.
He said, I am so done traveling because I dragged him everywhere, And so I summoned my daughter to come down, and she came down, and I took her family up. We took a whole trip up to Washington from California, and that was really fun. And then unfortunately, my son-in-law was getting sick, and he actually had gallbladder surgery. We flew him home, yeah. And so I said, well, here I am up in Washington, and I'm going, well, now what? Here I am. So I called my other son and I said, hey, you think you want to send Joaquin up? He was 13 at the time. It's my grandson. You want to send him up to Washington? I'll take him into Canada. There's this really cool zip lining place and all this stuff. So I said, yeah, sure. So he flew my grandson up to Washington. Nice. I took him over to Canada. We went across to Victoria Island. We had such a marvelous vacation. And I drove him all the way, back home. We went through, oh my gosh, so many amazing adventures the two of us had. So,
and, that your experiences then actually helped you think about when you were out there in the van, doing the van life, thinking about how you can help people be brave to pursue their own passions and purpose, right? So
this is when I transitioned after I sold that RV that was really too big for me. Right. I transitioned after COVID into the minivan. Yes. And that's where this whole thing came about. But it took a couple of years of traveling on and off to get to that point. I think I was 3 years in.
So after you converted from the big RV that you got for your hubby that never joined you, you went to the van life, which was an
Yep,
amazing transformation for yourself, but also helped you empower other women and men to transform their lives too, those empty nesters. Do you have a copy of your book you can flash to us on the screen?
I do. I actually have a book and a workbook.
Oh,
So
perfect.
this is the book,
Mm,
Gifts,
okay.
Empower Your Journey with 5 Keys of Transformation, and the 5 keys that we had already talked about.
Mhm.
And what I did was I knew that I wanted to do a course with it. So what I did was I created a workbook.
Ooh,
Now, the
nice.
workbook is a companion guide actually to the book because
Mm,
it has in the book, it's like almost a study guide for people, but I wanted to have a place where they can actually write down the answers to some of the questions I asked them to ponder.
yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah, and so I turned that into the course.
yeah, so you turned your book into a full course and a community recently just launched. What was the
Yes.
process like? Any unexpected challenges or wins?
There was a challenge. I had never written a course before,
Mm,
and I had never I mean, I'm pretty fluent on the computer, but I knew I needed business help. And even though I'm an entrepreneur for years,
right?
I knew that this was important enough for me to seek help. And so I took several different courses to learn how to create my own course. Went down a lot of different rabbit holes, just the whole learning process. I had no clue what a funnel was, CRM, what the heck does that mean,
Another acronym.
Yeah, yeah, customer relations management. I now know that. But I didn't know any. So it was a learning curve for, I would say, almost a year. And
Easily.
then I stumbled upon another course that I took. Okay. That, and it was on a community, and the community is called School, Skoll.
Mhm.
And I don't, a really big YouTuber, Alex Hermosi,
Mhm.
he has invested in that.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, and so I thought, oh, let me check this out. So when I first got into that course, I had no idea that there were other communities
Oh,
until I found out. I don't know how I found out. I think I started clicking different buttons. I'm going, and one said discover communities. And I'm going, oh, let me
oh.
go in there. And then I find out there's all these hundreds and hundreds of communities, all different topics, all
Wow.
different topics. And I
What a
thought,
great
oh,
resource.
this is awesome. Yeah. And so I joined a couple of other ones, and some of them are free and some of them are paid. And I'm going, you know what? This would be a perfect platform for me to build my course on. And that's what I did. And so I call my community, because it's more than just my course. I call it Share Your Gifts.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah. And
Love it.
I'm in, I just opened the doors yesterday. It's brand new.
Wow,
Brand new
wow,
community. Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you. I have my course on there, and
Mm,
a lot of it I want to teach live. I want to have that
yeah.
live experience with people because I want to help to coach them. I used to
Mm,
be a holistic health coach. I obtained that certification older in life. I was 50 at the time when I became a health coach.
mm.
And I didn't pursue it enough because shortly after I got my certification, I found myself caregiving for my mom.
Ah, yeah.
So
Mm,
because I had that certification and I had all of that knowledge, I was able to help her tremendously. She was 88 years old,
wow.
and Yeah, we had taken her into our home and she wasn't able to walk a lot, so we put a lift up in our home for
Oh,
her, like a stair
yeah.
lift and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
I took her to different. I knew she needed more than just my help. She needed physical therapy because she was very slumped over because she was so used to being in a walker and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So I helped her on my end, and the physical therapist helped her, regaining her muscle strength and stuff like that. And she eventually went actually from a scooter into walking just with a cane. Yeah,
That's
at
amazing.
88 years old.
At
Yeah.
88 years old.
88 years old. Yeah.
Wow. That's
And
a transformation on its own.
yeah, we
Huge.
took it for her 90th birthday. My daughter's house in Maine. We flew our whole family there for a big 90th birthday for her. It was so special. Everybody came. It was amazing. I don't know how
Oh.
we all fit. Most of us fit in her home. She has a basement, and oh my gosh, we were on the floor, we were on the couches, everywhere. But we just
Sardines.
all wanted to be together. And I
Mm,
remember we had this big lobster feast. Now, when you go to Maine, you have to have lobsters.
yes.
Yeah. We
Yes.
had kettles and kettles of lobsters going
The
on.
lobsters are
It was
screaming.
so much, it was so much fun. I was so happy to do that for her. And
So,
she did start to decline about a year after that.
okay.
And we were living up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho at the time.
Love that
Yeah,
place.
beautiful,
Beautiful.
beautiful.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so we thought, you know what? She missed her sister who was down in California. And I'm going, you know what? Why don't we go back? Why don't we just go back for a while? We knew that she wasn't probably going to live that much longer. And she
Mm.
was having problems with her gallbladder and they didn't want to do surgery
Yeah,
because
so
she was
older.
too old. So we took her back and we found a place in Orange County called Laguna Woods.
Okay.
And yeah, it was close enough to her sister to where she could visit. I could take her there. Her sisters could come and visit us and things like that. And she would have a community with older people around her. And she just loved to go to the different clubs and things that they had. And by this time, she was back in her scooter.
Yeah.
And so she would just toddle all around, the different places. She was everywhere. And she passed away in 2015.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
But what a
and
great quality of life she was able to live in those last couple of years, thanks to those transformations, right?
but you froze.
Oh,
Pardon
did
me?
I?
You froze just a little bit. Okay, you're back
Uh-oh.
now.
I was just
Yeah.
saying how her quality of life improved, for those last
It
couple of
did
years.
improve and it did improve until she got sick. When we were actually in Maine, not on that 90th birthday trip, I believe it was the year after, because I love going to see my daughter at least a couple of times a year, and she would come with me. And on that last trip, she had gotten sick and she actually became sepsis. She was in the hospital this was around Christmas time. She was in the hospital for about a month. She had really
Oh,
got
not
sick. So
good. Poor
that took
thing.
that took a toll on her body. And she really never actually recovered from that.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
Poor
yeah.
thing.
She never yeah. Um so that she declined. And I really became her caregiver. I mean, to the utmost degree,
Uh-huh.
to the exhausting degree, actually.
Yeah, of
And
course you did.
yeah, from that, actually, that was actually my very first book that I wrote. I, it was called, it's called Hurricane Lucy. Her name was Lucy. And it was at first it was so horrendous to me because I had done so much work with her, and I tried to take her to different specialists and stuff.
Mm,
Nobody really could help her anymore. She just could
poor
never
thing.
really
Mm,
recover from that incident.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So at that point, I felt like such a failure, even though I had helped her, years before.
Mm, mm.
I felt like such a failure.
Why did you feel like a
And
failure?
I, because I couldn't help her anymore,
Oh,
you know? And I think partly it was that, well, I'm a health coach. What the heck is wrong with me? And yeah, and it just got me. It just got to me. And I mean, I was giving her the best care that I possibly could, but I knew that I was drained and I didn't have, there was the health system, we didn't have like a lot of money to
mm,
really get her good care. And we were really struggling,
yeah.
to have her in our home actually again, and just the burden of that. And she was so sick. She actually passed away from congestive heart failure. She had blown
Oh,
up
sorry
like
to
a
hear that.
balloon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
And I was just running myself ragged trying to help her, and I wasn't taking good care of myself, you know. So that's
that's
it. So
a
I wrote
caregiver's
the
burnout,
book.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so actually, I took my experience, I wrote about my experience, and I thought, okay, I've got skills here. Let me put it in the book.
I've
So I
learned a lot.
called it, yeah, I called it Hurricane Lucy, a Caregiver's Guide.
Ah,
And
and it's
so
so
that was my
important.
very first book.
Mm.
Yeah.
So that in conjunction with the gifts, they do really complement each other, the whole life experience, right? Being a
Yeah, I think
caregiver and then turning it back into yourself and taking care of yourself,
I think
right?
so. There's another book that I wrote. It's actually a children's book.
Ah,
Okay. And this one is called Big Teddy Bear. The I can't remember the exact title.
don't have one
The
to flash for us.
something like
Oh,
the
because you're
case of
visiting, yeah.
the new arrivals or something like that. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Cute little story about a big teddy bear. He's in a toy store.
Okay.
And yeah, and I had, the graphics all made for it. And then there's
Mm.
all these little teddy bears on a shelf. Okay, and they all
Mm.
have the traditional little red bow. Remember those,
Yeah, little bow
those
ties.
brown teddy bears with a little red
Yeah,
bow on them,
yeah, so
just
cute.
really traditional. And so the big teddy bear looked exactly the same as these little ones, and they were on a
Oh,
shelf. Well, one day the storekeeper gets a delivery, and inside his delivery box there's all these different kind of teddy bears.
oh,
There's a pink one and it's a ballerina, and when you push this button she spins around. And then there's another one, a blue one, and he has overalls on and he does something. And so the
they're all different.
toy, and then so obviously the storekeeper puts these other teddy bears on the shelf next to the traditional ones. And the big teddy bear goes, teddy bears? You know, oh, those don't look like teddy bears at all. Teddy bears don't need batteries, you know? And so the story goes on. What happens is the little teddy bears get jealous because the children that are coming in see these bright, shiny objects, right? These new teddy bears, and they
Yeah.
want one, they're little kids. They, oh, wow, this is so cool. I want that one, Dad, and I want that one, Grandma. And so one night the teddy bears jump off their shelf and they go exploring because they want to fix themselves up. They want to look like these other teddy bears. And they go through the toy stores and they go up this little doll case and they try to put the clothes on from the doll case. First they get a key. They try to get the key and they have to climb up on top of each other to reach where to open the lock. They tumble to the ground and then they go exploring all these different things to try to find something to make them look special. And
Mm.
so I finally find some beads. So they're all wearing these beads and they're dancing around,
Oh.
and they go back up the shelf. And then the teddy bear, this was at night. So the teddy bear woke up and he goes, oh my gosh, what are you guys doing? And he tries to hobble over to get them and he falls on the ground. So the whole toy store is in shambles. So in the toy, I'm telling you like the whole story. But when the storekeeper comes back in the next morning, he sees the big teddy bear on the floor, so he picks him up and he ties the red bow on him, and then he looks at the the shelf and he goes, "Oh, teddy bears, what are you doing? You don't need to, you know, look dress fancy and stuff like that, so he fixes them all up like that. So the moral of the story basically is you're perfect just the way you are, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I love that. So that I do believe that all your books, right? They're all connected to the current book, Gifts, and your course. And
It
I think it's,
is.
yeah, it's so important that we share our experiences and help lift each other up. And so when I'm thinking about your new course that just launched yesterday, what it makes it a little bit different from other courses out there? What's your specification? It's people over 50, right? And transforming their lives from an empty nester syndrome, finding purpose. So how do you help them
You
find
know,
their purpose? So how does transformation happen? Where does it come from?
it comes from you. It comes from whomever you're talking to. As a coach, we're trained not to give the answers. We are
Oh,
trained to have other people come up with their own solutions. We can guide them, but it needs to come from them. It needs to come from within. We all know what we need and what we want. We just don't realize it. So sometimes it takes a coach to help them over that little hump to realize, oh, wow, yeah, I've got something there.
hmm. And through that, then they have their breakthroughs, right? Where they're able to
Hmm.
make the awareness of what needs to connect in their own lives to reach this next level, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And some of them do not want to start a business,
Mm,
some of them do. I
mm.
happen to love the idea of a business at an older age. I think there's a lot of wisdom that can be shared. And why not profit from it and create a little legacy for you and even your family?
Yeah, I completely agree. It's like a lot of people start thinking, when they reach their certain, like myself in the 60s, and nobody wants you for a job. They all want the younger population and everything. And a lot of people get into that mindset of, so how can I contribute? How am I purposeful? I'm all washed up. I'm old or whatever. I don't believe in that. I believe that you
Mhm.
have a whole nother chapter to write, right? And there's more growing and learning to do. So, right, I'm so
Yeah,
glad that there's people like you out there, Elaine, that are creating courses like this to give hope to those of us who are just kind of thinking, is Netflix all there is?
yeah.
Right?
Let me share a little bit about my community.
Oh, please do.
Now, what's different about my community is it's intergenerational.
Ooh, okay. Tell us about
I
that.
have I have invited several younger people, young men in their 20s. They are blowing me away, and I met them through school.
Okay.
I also have a grandson, the 13-year-old that came with me up in Washington.
Uh-huh.
Well, he's about to turn 19 in May. And he came to me a couple of months ago and he says, Grandma, I know that you used to teach piano. And he loves the piano. He's actually very, extremely good at it. Okay. He's a classical pianist,
Mm.
but a rock star on the guitar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but he's very, very talented person. So he came to me and goes, Grandma, um, I'm thinking about teaching piano. What do you suggest? And so we talked about it, and I said, you know what I really suggest for you? I suggest you create your own style. I says, the way that
Mm.
you're going to find that out, start a YouTube channel. Start putting content out there. Find your niche. Find out the style that you love to teach. Because when you're on YouTube, a lot of it comes from your teaching.
Mm.
So I pointed him in that direction. And so
Oh,
from there, I thought, this is when I was starting to think about, the community that I wanted to start. And I thought, you know what? I'm not just about helping older men and women. I
right.
am about helping anybody that has that hunger, that has that drive, that wants to move forward with their life. That's what it's about. It's not So, and a lot of people said, stick with one little niche, and stuff like that. I said, fine. So I started my YouTube channel. I attract those people because they see me, a younger person might just pass me by, but as I'm getting to know them and we are starting to share different things, they're sharing their technology with me
Yeah,
and
I
I'm
love
sharing
that.
different things with them. And I'm going, you know what? I'm going to make my community intergenerational.
I like it.
I,
Um, and I think a lot of the millennials, as I'm speaking to my son who's in his 30s, right? He says that a lot of them seem really lost, trying to find
mm,
their identity. And so I'm so grateful that you're making it intergenerational because it's needed.
yeah, I think so too. So
Hmm.
I have no idea what my niche is. No clue.
Life.
Life. It's life. Yeah.
So, what does living a fulfilling next chapter mean to you, and how has that changed over your time, your life experience? We've heard
It
some of
just,
it.
yeah, it just means, you know what? Starting your day with gratitude.
Right.
It's the gifts.
Mhm.
It's, setting an intention. It's about putting energy into the things that you do, you know,
Yeah.
and it's about connecting with other people who are in the same mindset,
Hmm.
you
Yes,
know.
absolutely.
I don't think there's one size fits all. I really don't. We have different experiences, we have different interests, and we are not all the same, but yet we are in so
Mm.
many
You have a
ways.
lot of common threads. Yeah. So, what's
Yeah.
your favorite mind shift that's helped you personally move through life and uncertainty and reinvention? Did you use affirmations? Did you tell yourself you can do it and one step at a time? What helped you keep
You
moving
know,
through your transformation?
I have all that stuff in my book, and I don't necessarily always follow my own advice. I tend to go with the flow.
Mm.
I have always just been like this. I'm a little bit of a Pollyanna type. I'm a very free spirit. Um, I rarely keep a calendar. I told you before, my email is a disaster. Don't email me. you know. But here's the thing. I know that I needed organization. I actually met today with another person who has a school community, and she's going to help me organize my calendar. You know,
Woohoo!
it's a really great conversation with her because she said, once you do this, you'll see that when you're organized, you'll actually free up time.
Yeah, it's so true, right? I keep getting these commercials popping up in my feed, so AI must know. It's like, get your schedule, keep it, get more time, get organized. It's like, probably, yeah, the universe is sending me a message going, would you get yourself together?
Yeah. So you learn these things as you go along,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's like,
Well, we know
no,
now your community is open to all ages, but for
it
those who are
is.
watching who are, in their 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s, and look at your 90-year-old, your grandmother, right? So
My mother.
your mother.
Mm.
It's never too late to reinvent themselves. What would you say to them directly?
Join my community. Just come.
Hmm.
It's totally free.
Hmm.
And I would love to meet you. Yeah, I
Fantastic.
would love to. Yeah.
And we're going, of course, put all that information down in our description box below too,
Yeah.
how to join.
Perfect. Yeah. And I want to connect with others and through my podcast as well. It's called Gifts Podcast. On
Yes.
YouTube. It's on YouTube. It's also on Spotify. I think all the channels that they go out to. Yeah. So,
And using the title of your book and all the acronyms and the meanings that are enclosed within it. So if you could give a gift to every person over 50, because intergenerational, what is something that they really need right now? What would it be they could really use right now when they're trying to discover themselves and their purpose? What
mhm,
what would be
mhm.
like an affirmation
I
or
Yeah, I would say turn off all your devices for 10 minutes.
Hmm.
Find a quiet space. Outside would be wonderful, maybe at a park. And just sit with yourself and see what comes up. You know, just sit there and have no distractions and see and ask yourself, what do I want? That's it.
And
Just
sometimes
and
it's such a hard question to ask, but easy to ask, but hard to answer, when it's like you'll
well,
have those little blocks.
but
Right?
here's what you can do. I learned this from, I believe it was one of the Tony Robbins seminars that I went to. Might have been Dean Graziosi. I don't.
Grazie. Yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about. Yeah,
they're kind of they have a
the
partnership there.
pair. Yeah.
Yeah. And they said, then you ask yourself, say, what do I want? And then you give an answer, like what the first thing comes to your mind. Okay. And then you ask, why? Why do you want it?
Mm.
And then you come up with the answer and then you go, but why do you want that? And then you come up with that. You do it 5 times. You go
Five
as
times.
deep as you possibly can with that why, and you'll get
Mm.
the answers.
Mm. Awesome. I like that. It's a really nice self-reflection thing. Just
Hmm.
to keep out and then write it down in your journal
Yeah.
or
And
the workbook that
sometimes,
you have.
yeah, sometimes we just get so busy
Mm.
that we forget to just tune into ourselves.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah. And I
And some,
think that that trip that I went on, that's what I did a lot of. And I just came to this. It just came to me.
and I can relate to that too. My mother, she had a van that we got together, and she just traveled around, and she liked it so much. She says she didn't have a plan. She just would drive, and she'd get to the stoplight and go, "I want to go left, or do I want to go right? Or do I want to go straight? Yeah, I'll turn left, see what's down here, right?" And then since she, right, who knows where that road's going to lead you? And then sometimes she would pull her van over in the forest, and she would
Yeah.
put the
You
music
froze
on, and
again.
she would just dance around, and she didn't care, like nobody's watching. And those were, so liberating for her just to be and be very fully present, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
amazing. So I love this so much. So is there any final words you'd like to give to aspiring authors who want to like you encouraged your grandson to start his YouTube channel? What kind of inspiration or guidance would you like to offer our listeners who are considering something like this? Besides going to the course, get in the course, get the book.
Well, here's the thing. My community is more than just a course. I have two main courses. I have my two main courses, but of that, what I'm doing is I'm bringing in teams.
Mm,
And I know a little bit about everything, and I know what you need when you're just starting a business, whether you're starting a YouTube channel. There's a lot of content that's going to go in there. I don't want to fill all that content myself. So I have team members that are coming in there, collaborations that are coming in there. I'm trying to build a resource file for everybody in there. So I have two courses, and then I have 10 classrooms. The classrooms are the tools that people will need. There'll be an AI classroom. Um, what else do I have? Marketing classroom. Okay.
so
So that's what's different about my classroom. And a lot of it's community involvement because we do get online. In the calendar section, I have different, I'm going to be bringing on speakers. And yeah, it's more community than it is really just content.
that's awesome. And you've given me all the links and everything. So I'm going to include that down into the description box below. So that's a wrap. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for
So
having me on.
absolutely. So it's a wrap on our episode of Give Me Five author interviews and book reviews. Wasn't that just what you needed today? It's what I needed today. So a huge thank you to our incredible Elaine Lombardi for joining us and sharing her wisdom, her energy, and those powerful keys to transformation. Your journey is such an inspiration, and I know our viewers are walking away with more than just ideas. They're walking away with possibility, right? So, and to my many amazing subscribers, thank you for spending your time with us. If you found today's episode helpful, give me a quick favor and thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, hit that bell so you don't miss what's coming next. We've got more authors, insights, and more heartfelt conversations on the way. So, want to dive deeper into Elaine's work? You'll find everything in the description box below. Her book, her course, her podcast, school community, it's all there waiting for you. Until next time, keep reading, keep growing, and keep showing the world your gifts. I'll see you back here soon on Give Me Five, where every story is a something worth sharing. Bye for now. Bye, Elaine. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Take care.